ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਨਮਸਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਪੈਸ਼ਲ ਗੈਸਟ ਆਏ ਆ ਸਟੂਡੀਓ ਦਾ ਅੱਜ ਇਹ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਆਇਆ ਬਹੁਤ ਇਹ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸ ਬੈਕਗ੍ਰਾਉਂਡ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਆ ਨਾਲੇ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦਾ NHL ਨਾਲ ਇਹਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਹੈਗਾ ਸੁਰੇਸ਼ ਵਾਮਾ Suresh, welcome to Sursangam.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me today.
I wanted to ask you, especially living in the States, how does it feel?
You know, it's. I always love coming to Calgary. I love the city. I've really have had a chance to spend a lot of time here recently, and I really enjoy just how cohesive the people are here, how helpful, how collaborative they are. You know, friendly, warm. And genuine that way. So I've really enjoyed being here in Calgary.
I appreciate that sharing that. I want to dig a little bit more further into your background and stuff like that. I know you went to UCLA and you went to. Tell us about your experience.
Yeah, happy to. So when I grew up in a town in Western Maryland outside of Washington, D.C., but I grew up, I would say, I tell people I grew up like most Canadian kids. I played every form of hockey you could: ice, roller, street, video, fantasy, trading cards. You know, I was a hockey kid all the way through. Was actually just talking about this earlier today. Being in a town that didn't have a lot of South Asians when I was there, you know, in a weird way, my hockey identity, I became known as the hockey kid as opposed to the South Asian kid, right? In a way, it kind of helped me build some bridges with the community in a different way, But I didn't really connect with my heritage until I was older. And it was really, as I became older and I started to appreciate, you know, where my parents had come from, what they had done to come to the U.S., and also the rich culture of India and across all of South Asia. It was the first time, once I was older as an adult, I really started to understand that. And now it's a big part of my identity today. So I went to NYU undergrad, New York University undergrad. I knew I wanted to do two things when I came out of college. One was to never be, because of everything my parents had done for me, I never wanted to be in a position where I had to ask them for money or anything else after that. The other was I wanted to live abroad. And so when I came out of NYU, I joined investment banking, which I enjoyed as a career. I had a chance to move to London for England for several years, you know, and I really appreciated having that chance to do that. What I realized though was sports is my passion. I really wanted to see sports grow, and I really felt that the South Asian sports fan was just not being spoken to. I grew up watching as much hockey as I could get my hands on, but never was there an effort from the NHL or from any of the teams to really come to me, despite the fact that Robin Bawa was the first South Asian player in any of the Big Four, played for the Capitals when I was growing up. So, you know, and it wasn't unique to hockey, right? Nothing was happening in football, nothing was happening in basketball or baseball, and so I really felt like that was an underserved, underappreciated audience. Fast forward to, as you said, I went to UCLA for grad school. Coming out of grad school, I knew I wanted to be at this confluence of the North American sports leagues and the South Asian diaspora, both here in Canada and the US as well as in India. I joined a firm that had a focus on entertainment. I went from there to a firm that was lending to sports rights holders and sports properties. And then along the way, I got introduced to some folks at the NHL and started speaking about the South Asian audience. And what I came to realize was there was a real interest in the NHL to be part of the South Asian community, and there was a real interest. There are a lot of South Asian hockey fans that want to be part of the NHL as a fan or as a customer. They want to be more engaged, but there was a lack of understanding of how to build that bridge from both sides, right? The NHL did not have, and still doesn't have, a lot of South Asian executives across the league, across the teams, and the South Asian fans, their first impression of hockey sometimes is the violence, the fighting, the less than hospitable culture, which that was certainly true back in the day, but fast forward now to 2020, 2021, that was no longer the case, right? Most NHL teams have a very welcoming, family-friendly environment to bring your family to. So we realized that was a real opportunity to kind of bring those together. And to your point about my business background, we always think about these sort of initiatives from a diversity lens, but from the NHL's perspective, here's an affluent, politically prominent business leadership, community leadership, active in entertainment. This community, our community, the South Asia community, is a very, very desirable audience for the NHL from a business perspective, right? And so we started to make those business connections as well. And now you're seeing South Asian business leaders using hockey as a way to grow and develop their own platforms. So that's kind of how my journey came about, was just understanding as a kid that not feeling as a kid that I was really being spoken to, despite how big a fan I was. And now being able to work with teams like the Calgary Flames that are very interested and genuinely, authentically motivated to be a bigger part of our community. So it's an exciting time to be here, to be in that way.
Thank you for sharing that. ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਸਕੂਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਜਾਣ ਨੂੰ ਆ ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਕੂਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਫਿਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਐਡਵਾਂਸਮੈਂਟ ਤੇ ਦਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੀਰੀਅਸਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣੋ ਇਹ ਸਕਸੈਸਫੁਲ ਬਿਜ਼ਨਸਮੈਨ ਆ ਨਾਲੇ ਹੁਣ NHL ਨਾਲ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦਾ ਆ ਇਹਨੇ ਪ੍ਰਮੋਟ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ South Asian Celebration Night. Can you explain to the audience what are some of the venues, some of the NHL teams you have gone to support South Asian celebration?
No, absolutely. So we started this business, Tulsi Sports Marketing, in 2022. And since then, the NHL has been a long-time client at the league level, as well as we've worked individually with about half of NHL teams. We've had the chance to work with the Flames now for several years, and we really enjoy that partnership as well. Just to share some other markets that I think do a really nice job with the South Asian community. Vancouver is the gold standard, I think, across sports, not just in hockey. They have an excellent amount of programming for the South Asian audience. San Jose does a lot with the South Asian audience as well. We've had the chance to work with the Los Angeles Kings for several years. We've worked with the Dallas Stars. That's a thriving South Asian community there. New Jersey and the New Jersey Devils. The Devils are an interesting case because they, in addition to wanting to grow their fan base, they recognize that, similar to Alberta, New Jersey has a very prominent South Asian community that they want to be a part of. Mm-hmm. So that's been a great partnership. We've had the chance to work with the Washington Capitals, Toronto Maple Leafs, a number of other teams as well. But it certainly has been it's been a rewarding journey to see how many teams have expressed a real interest in wanting to do something with the South Asian audience.
Can you also go a little bit deeper? What was your initiative to start South Asian Celebration Night with the NHL?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the motivation in my mind was kind of an odd one, but it's felt like there were so many South Asian hockey fans in Canada, and there were very few South Asian hockey fans in the United States. Mm-hmm. And I find that interesting when I was growing up, and I find that interesting because it's the same league. It's the same players, same content, same journey of coming from India or from Asia mm-hmm. to the US to Canada. And one audience was picking up on hockey very quickly. The other audience was not picking up on hockey at all. And I just found that really fascinating. So when we started speaking with the league in a few years ago, that dichotomy is what we highlighted and said, your content, which is the same in both countries, because the league is in both countries, has real resonance in Canada, has less residency in the US, but if you put a South Asian lens to that, mm-hmm. both countries and both diasporas will quickly come into your sport. And by the way, the other leagues are not doing anything for South Asian either at the time, or doing very little for South Asians as well. So you would be the first league in this desirable audience in both countries. And because there's so much great work being done in Canada for the South Asian audience at the grassroots level, at the broadcast level with Hockey Night in Canada Punjabi, and with the number of prominent South Asian sports journalists across Sportsnet and TSN and a number of other networks, so much of that could, if you just put a South Asian lens to NHL content, would really attract South Asian audiences, and you could do that across the league, not just in Canada, but in the U.S. as well, and be a really prominent sport within our community, which I think we're starting to see that tipping point right now.
Suresh बहुत ज़्यादा काम करता है NHL hockey team नार इन टीम दसिया या बहुत important दिदा आप NHL पर टीवी पर देख दिया दूसरी हम देख दिया सुरेश की jersey नारी मेरी jersey different with the history betcha. Suresh, do you want to explain the both jerseys with the yellow one first and then with the red one?
Yeah, absolutely. So with most of the teams in the league, the one thing that is, there's lots of things unique. One thing that's unique about hockey is that the jersey or the sweater is such a prominent fixture, right? Yes. NFL jerseys are just smaller in size. Same with basketball jerseys. Baseball probably has something that could be done there as well, but the artwork of a jersey is so important. So when you're talking about engaging an audience, it's not just about selling them tickets. It's about supporting their platform. So the teams have figured out the jersey is a piece of art. We can support South Asian artists and other communities as well, but focusing on South Asian. We can support South Asian artists by getting them to create logos of our logo in their culture. So the jersey that you have on, the sweater that you have on, is the first Flames South Asian logo. It was designed by Zoe Harveen Kaur Sihota, and it is really meant to express the prominence of the community, the beauty, the artistry. It's meant to incorporate the Calgary Flames see into the elements that are kind of our culture, right? This is the new one that just got unveiled on Wednesday, this one in the red. It's by Navi Jaj. And I should mention both Zoe and Navi are Calgarians, right? So it's not just that the Flames have gone to an artist, they've gone to Calgary-based artists, and they're supporting Southern Alberta arts and culture as well, right? And so this one also bringing a different element to it, works with the red as opposed to the yellow, and it also has a lot of the richness of our culture, right? One of the things that comes up when Navi speaks about this is the diversity within the diversity, how broad our culture is, and bringing that richness and that intricacy into this logo as well. Teams, when they release the logo, they usually put out not just the logo itself, but a full dissection of it, right? What are the different elements? What does that mean? What is the inspiration for that element? Why is that part of it? How does it connect to not just the Flames, but to Calgary as a city and to Southern Alberta as a region? And so, the Flames did a nice job of that. Now, we've talked about the C. If you can just show your numbers as well. See, the other part that comes up is in the number, you'll see the different South Asian elements being incorporated there. Likewise, using the gold pattern against the red here, yes. That there's a real intricacy inside of that. So the players for the Flames will wear this jersey when they come into the stadium on Saturday for the South Asian celebration game, which every team does it that way. The players come in wearing the jersey, and so you'll have these prominent athletes here in Calgary wearing a South Asian focused thing, which is a really nice thing to see.
I want to say thank you. The Suresh कहता है अपनी community दो पंजाबी कुड़ियां ना design बनाया our कहता our अपना आप किन्ना proud हो सकते हैं पंजाबी कुड़ियां ने both design अपना बनाया and नारे on Saturday 8 बजे game शुरू होनी है Calgary Flames खेलना है Vancouver Canucks celebration door खुलनी है 7 बजे. So explain a little bit more about Saturday night.
Yeah. So for many of the fans coming to the building, it'll be their first time coming to a Flames game. They may be fans at home, but this is the first time they're coming to a game. And what the Flames wanted to do was to showcase the Calgary South Asian community in as many different formats. Raghav, the singer, is the Flames South Asian ambassador, fan ambassador, and his music will feature throughout the night during the game. There will be dancers and performances by several dance groups, both in the stadium and on the concourse. There will be a showcase of minor hockey. So these are South Asian kids that are actively playing the game today They'll be showcased on the ice during the intermission. And the message there isn't just, hey, here are these kids that are playing, but this is a sport that you as a South Asian family can gravitate to. If your kids, boys or girls, want to play hockey, there is a place for you to do that. And the hockey world wants you to come into that. So that's that message behind that. We'll be featuring and honoring a number of different prominent South Asians throughout the night. One person that will come up is Harish Kansal, the CEO of Akro Ventures, prominent VC PE firm. He is also the head of the province's Alberta India Economic Corridor. So bringing Indian businesses to Alberta is part of his purview now too, working directly with the Premier, Daniel Smith. So we'll have a number of things like that across. The last thing I'll mention, Coach, the graphics will be in a South Asian bent. So you'll see the Flames being represented here. As a little sneak preview, you'll see the Canucks represented in a certain way as well, because they from their South Asian initiatives. And so the game will have a very South Asian presentation format to it. It'll showcase to non-South Asians just how prominent the community is here in Calgary. And it'll show to South Asians that this is a welcoming environment for you to come in. I can't be South Asian without mentioning there will be a number of food and beverage options for South Asians. South Asian food and beverage options throughout the arena, veg and non-veg. So you can't go to a South Asian event and not talk about the food, right?
You're right, 100%. Yeah.
That's it. So that's going to be incorporated as well. Some of the things we have planned for the Flames. With the Flames for future seasons is incorporating some of these elements maybe more permanently into the stadium, whether it's the music, the food, or some of the different elements, the decorative elements, having that be a permanent fixture for the Flames, especially as they go into their new stadium in a couple years.
I appreciate with what you're saying. One of the things I'm noticing is as we're talking about South Asian is a very rich culture. And it's very important for not just in sports, on how the sports teams are recognizing, acknowledging our importance, how rich our culture is, how tradition it is. And by them accepting it and being part of this, it's good for the audience to be a big involvement. ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੁਣ this Saturday game ਹੋਣੀ ਆ Vancouver Canucks ਨਾਲ Calgary Flames any ਖੇਲਣਾ 8 ਵਜੇ South Asian celebration ਹੁਣ 3 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ 3 years, right?
That's right.
3rd year we'll be doing with the Calgary Flames here. What is the message you want to give to our audience today?
Yeah, for sure. So I think this resonates with me personally because when I was growing up, a number of my parents' friends or others in the community, as big a hockey fan that I was, and I should say my father was as well, yes. As big a hockey fan as we were, a number of our community members would say, that's not our sport. That sport is not for us. They don't want us in that sport. And I guess the one thing that if there's one message that I could send out today to our community about hockey today is that that's just not true. Hockey is a sport that I've learned, personally have learned a lot from, having played it growing up. I've made a number of friends through hockey. I've been now blessed to have the opportunity to work in hockey in this capacity, but I couldn't be further from the truth. The hockey world wants more fans from all of the communities across Canada. We're focused on South Asian, you and I, but the hockey community wants more fans from Canadians, right? South Asian, Chinese, across Asia, across Africa. They would like to see these communities being part of the hockey ecosystem and the reason for that is, as you know, hockey is one of those unifying cultural components of Canada. So the more that our communities are integrated into hockey, the more that we become cohesive as a nation here in Canada. And so if there's one message I could say is, the best way to get yourself seen and heard and accepted and being a part of society here in Canada is through hockey. And you'll see that continue to grow. I personally am waiting for the day when, obviously on social media, there's lots of chatter between fans of two teams like Vancouver and Calgary, who are playing on Saturday. I'm looking forward to seeing where there's a element of South Asian Flames fans and South Asian Canucks fans engaging each other in Punjabi about hockey, about the sport, and just growing audiences that way too. So if there's one thing I would say is it really is a sport that's open for everyone, that wants more people in, that is trying to be more inviting as a culture, as a community, and we as South Asians should take advantage of that.
सुरेश ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਆ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਪ੍ਰਾਊਡ ਹੋਣੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਆ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਇਵੈਂਟਸ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਆ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੋਸਟ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਆ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਿਆਣੇ ਆ ਫਿਊਚਰ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖੋ ਦੋ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਕੁੜੀ ਨੇ ਡਿਜ਼ਾਈਨ ਬਣਾਇਆ future day there's going to be more opportunities for creative artists ਆਪਣੀ community ਵਿੱਚ they ਕੋਈ interested ਆ Sursangam ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੋਲਡ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ opportunity ਦੱਸ ਸਕਦੇ ਆ future ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿੰਨੀ opportunity ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਆ with the Flames, with the Stamps, with all the sports that ਹੈਗੇ ਆ Suraj, I want to say thank you for being on Sursangam today.
Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate you being here. Looking forward to seeing everyone on Saturday night. And one thing we should have mentioned actually is the Flames also have a South Asian player now,
yes,
in Zayn Parek, who is by all accounts going to be a star in this league. So we could be very close to having a real South Asian superstar, coming through. And so
thank you for mentioning it because most important. Suraj can say hona Calgary Flames though very first South Asian player hagaya. Is it not?
Zayn Parek is the first South Asian player for the Flames. There have been South Asians that have played hockey in the past at the NHL level as well, going back to Robin Bawa from the 80s. But Zayn and Arshdeep Bains, they have the highest ceiling. They really look like they're going to be future all-stars, really important, players for their teams. And actually, they may both be in the game because Arshdeep is with the Canucks. Yes. They may both be playing on Saturday as well, which would be nice to see.
That's what I like about it. Both of them are community people too.
They are. That's right.
Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.